Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for being with us. Welcome to the National Parents Union's nightly restorative check-in. We have a new time, so we'll be starting on Mondays directly after NP Live, after Carrie and Tim's show. So we'll be right after them for an hour. So here on the Pacific Coast, that's from 5:30 to 6:30. On the East Coast, that's from 8:30 to 9:30. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we will be going live from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's 8 to 9 Eastern time. So we have a little bit of a shift. Thank you so much for being with us during our nightly restorative check-in. As always, I am Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. I am the very happy and very proud wife to Daniel. I'm the mother to Camerina, Emilia, and Sofia. I am the daughter to Irma Navran. I am the grandmother to Isabela Luna, Cynthia Ileana, and soon to be a grandson who will be coming into the world on February 18th. I'm the granddaughter to Camerina, Francisco, Alejandro, and Carmen. All of my grandparents immigrated to the United States from Mexico around the 1920s. And my family, they came as farm workers. My grandmother was a cannery worker, as were her siblings. Her brothers also fought in World War II. So I'm very proud of my family, very proud of my ancestors. They are also educators. And I always want to remind myself as I go into any space or any room of the honor that it is to be in that space, but also to speak this with this voice that I have, which I really feel it just doesn't belong to me. It belongs both to my ancestors and to our future ancestors. And so it's just very important for me to ground myself and to remind myself who I am in this world. And so thank you for always giving me that time and that opportunity. So again, we have a new show time. So we're excited about that. So we want to make sure that for our East Coast guests that we're not hitting them so close to their bedtime and giving them just a little bit of a break. So we're just going a little bit earlier, a half hour earlier on Mondays and an hour earlier on Wednesday and Friday. And Dr. Anjali will still be with us on Friday. So as I will also try to get your comments up here. If you have any questions, anything that you want to say, please go ahead and do that. And if the conversation lends, I will absolutely make sure that we capture that here on the screen. So a couple of quick announcements before we go on. We have our town hall this Thursday. Dolores Huerta is going to be our guest speaker, and she's also going to be on a panel. And so it's going to be a really amazing town hall. We have two educators, Vivette Dukes and Paul Bloomberg, who will be sharing with parents what they should be expecting from schools. So it kind of gives I think really like not just the best case, but like really these are the things that you deserve and that you should be receiving regarding communication and your child, not just during these times of the pandemic, but any time in their educational experience. And then we will, of course, have the results of our poll from December. And we will have Dolores Huerta will be speaking, and then an amazing panel will be with her as well. So please make sure to sign up for that. And like all of our programming, everything here at the National Parents Union is free. So please, as you register, also sign up for membership. You can do that by going to our page. So before we get started, and before we transition into our breathing, or you know what, let's just do our breathing technique first, because I have something I want to share with you and read to you, and then we'll bring our guest on. So our breathing technique is called 4-7-8. So we inhale for 4 seconds, we hold for 7, and we release for 8. And we do this 4 times. This was taught to us by Dr. Anjali, and we do this at the beginning of every show. So I will lead us. As always, just please make sure if you could put your feet firmly on the ground. If you want to close your eyes, just take a breath in and out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Thank you for joining me with in the breathing. So I saw this, and actually my guest on Wednesday, Harry Lopez, had posted this on, I believe it was on one of his social media accounts. And I was, really been thinking about, so welcome to 2021. This is our first show of the year. Today is January 4th. And with every year, there's an opportunity. With every day, there is an opportunity. Every start, there's always opportunities for us. And I think that, with the calendar year that we go by, there's an opportunity for freshness. There's an opportunity for continued transformation. There's an opportunity for continued growth and continued healing. And in that, last year, I will say for me, there was a lot, the time here at home provided me with a lot of time for, I think, both reflection and also really allowed me to go into a deep space of my healing. One of my guests from a couple of weeks ago, Natasha Hall Chase, she talked about the inner healing experience that she did. She spent 4 days really going into and reliving some traumatic experiences, and she calls it her healing. And, I think that for me, over the course of last year, that we've been so much at home, I've gone through a lot of healing, and it's been really good for me. On the first day of January, as the sun was setting, the colors reminded me of what a fresh breath would look like. These really beautiful light blues and a lot of white light. And that was as the sun was setting, before we hit, I'm here in San Diego, so before we hit all of the oranges and the reds, and it felt so fresh. And one of the things that I've, my whole life have been working on has been, has been my weight. So I was 6 years old when I started gaining weight. I was a really, really skinny kid. And my dad's side of the family, they're very lanky, people. And I was a very lanky kid. And so it's been something, my body, my physical health, and I think specifically also like my size is something that I've been working on my entire life. And in doing all of this internal healing and this growth and this reflection, and really trying to get to the core of myself, the question kind of remains like, why, how can I do all of this work, but I can't seem to get the grasp on my physical health. I can't get the grasp on, getting my weight into what is considered more or less not morbidly obese, I would say. And so I'm going to read this to you because it just really, it's something that I think is going to help me as I continue on this path towards health. And it's a physical expression of our consciousness. And this is from Reflections in the Light by Shakti Gawain. And it's available at Harriet's Bookstore, which is a Black-owned bookstore, online bookstore that I'm trying to make sure that I share and that I purchase books from. But this, again, was not mine. So let me read this to you. A physical expression of our consciousness. Our bodies are simply a physical expression of our consciousness. The ideas we have about ourselves determine our health and beauty, or the lack thereof. When we change our concepts on the deepest level, our physical self follows suit. We are all, in essence, perfect spiritual beings. We are each a perfect expression of the universal mind of God consciousness within us. As such, our natural birthright is radiant health, beauty, boundless energy, youthful vitality, and joy throughout our lives. And then the saying that the author ends with is, as I change internally, my body changes. And I've been, there's a couple of women that I follow. One is Lizzo, who is this really amazing woman, a singer, and she's a thick woman who exercises every day, and she is thick, and she dances, and she's sexy, and she owns her body in such a beautiful way. And I think, that's the space that I want to move into. So not necessarily, I think, so much around size, but around like health and strength. And being able to do things like go up a flight of stairs or walk up a hill or just feel strength in my body and not have, that tightness of not moving. So that's really the space that I want to move into. And before I move on and bring on my guest, so my aunt said, hi, Mija. So my number one fan. And Carrie, you are perfect just the way you are. I think that I would like to say, I think all of us, there is perfection in our divineness. And I think that we all have areas to grow in. And I really do want to grow and to learn how to take care of my body, the way that I am taking care of my emotional and internal health, the way I take care of my soul, of my spirit, or the way that I'm learning to take care of my soul and spirit. I really want to learn to take care of my body in that same way. Okay, so now I'm going to bring on my guest, and I am very excited to have, he's a returning guest, my dear friend, St. Clair Adriaan. So let me bring you in. Let me move myself over so you don't have the MP on there. St. Clair, hello.
Good evening. How's everything?
You know what? I'm so happy to see you. So how is everything? Everything's okay. Like, we started back to work today. I, had some meetings. I'm behind already on my emails. I'm behind. Like I haven't seen my daughter who lives with me, and we're like one wall apart because I've just been busy all day long. So I'm doing okay. But what I'm very excited about and happy is I'm happy to see you and to just have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we also started back at school today.
So St. Clair, how are you?
I had a chance to reflect today going back to work. I'm doing okay. It's been the first, I think, ever in my life festive season where I was absolutely alone. There have been no human contact with family or friends and everything else. But I'm okay because that sacrifice to me is making sure that I get the opportunity to do and get together with friends and family again once all this is over. And the aloneness over a time that is usually spent with family and friends, because usually if I'm not in South Africa with my family, I'd be in New Orleans, or my friends from New Orleans would be with me somewhere. And but it gave me time to reflect, and when one is alone, actually do you think a lot of my late mom and dad, and this time of year I got to cook and catch up on reading, and I was lonely, yeah, but I felt that sacrifice was all worth it in ensuring not being selfish, and ensuring that whatever it is that we're going through, that I do not contribute to spreading or getting other people sick.
Well, in St. Clair, you have been very affected by COVID. We talked a few weeks ago, and you had shared the number of people that you've lost in South Africa. And my husband was telling me today that I don't know if there was a different strain.
Yes.
So can you just talk a little bit about that and how things are back home in South Africa?
It is very scary back home in South Africa, especially the past few weeks. Every day When I woke up in the morning, it would be rest in peace, and it would all be someone I know. Many of my teaching colleagues, I actually just read that South Africa will now have a teacher shortage when the schools reopen, based on the number of teachers that have passed. In 1 week, I lost 8 friends who were teachers and at the same teacher in the same teacher training program as me at the time back home. And that was just 1 week, about 2-3 weeks ago. And ever since then, it was 1 or 2 or 3 more. I lost 4 family members in South Africa, and just recently a cousin, and then 3 out of the same family earlier.
I am so sorry for your loss. I am so sorry for what is happening to your friends and your family.
Yeah, really sad. And then most recently, like a high school friend, and that I haven't spoken to since I left South Africa, but it brought such fond memories. Is he had a motorbike, and when you could hear the motorbike stop, my mom always had this extra plate of food in case Floyd was gonna stop by. And because he stopped, I was done with everything else, and silent, the gentle guy. And then 2 days ago on Facebook again, just the rest, Floyd comment. Oh my God, just another one. So urging people to have funerals during the week. We back home usually bury on a Saturday. So it is really, 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 really bad. And then there is just the level of ignorance and stupid conspiracy theories and the non-maskers and everything else still that continues to negatively affect the spread of the virus.
And how have things been for you in New York? Because that was the hot spot here in the United States in March, in the beginning, March, April. How was the situation for your family and the community that you built there?
So back in March and April, when things started, we were like obviously in the epicenter in New York, but more Queens, New York, the Elmhurst Hospital, where that was featured worldwide, with regard to the medical staff and the people and the people dying and everything in the hospital. That is like 2 blocks from where I live, and not too far from the school that I lead. And many of our kids live in the neighborhood, and many of our parents work over there. The school, we have been affected with, fortunate enough, we haven't lost any students, but we have had some teachers lose partners, parents, grandparents, and then we have some families get sick or lose family members. The rate is gone up again in the area. So we have actually been in remote teaching and learning since March. We have never gone back to school.
Well, and you've worked all over the United States and lived all over the United States, and I'm sure and I know you have a big community here in California, that things here have also gotten really, really scary. And I had shared with my family, a really dear friend of mine. She and her family made the decision to get together on Christmas Eve, and every single person that was there is sick with COVID. Her husband's grandfather and an uncle have passed, but everyone in her family, she has a teenager, she has a little boy in 4th or 5th grade. Every single one of them is sick. And when you talk about the sacrifice, how do you respond? Or when you know that there are people that are putting themselves at risk, that are putting other people at risk by continuing to get together. How do you respond? How are you dealing with that when you have chosen, to sacrifice and you're by yourself? You don't have a roommate. You don't have a partner right now. You don't have children. You are by yourself. So you could be, say that you're gonna, be socially distanced and make sure you wear your mask. But how do you deal with that, St. Clair? Because I'm struggling a little bit. So
it is extremely frustrating. I'm fortunate enough though, around here in New York or in my area, whenever I do go to the store, for example, I very seldom see someone without a mask. In the area that I live. So I've never had to deal
yeah.
with it in a store, whatever. Once in Dunkin' Donuts, there was a guy that was like makeshifting just his sleeve and whatever, and someone else got really upset, and he couldn't understand why the person got upset, but I could.
Yeah.
What the situation is. And then what I did in during this time in South Africa, I'm on my community back in South Africa. I'm very active on their page, and I spoke and encouraged them through poetry in my mother tongue. Over this vacation time, which sitting in the home gave me a lot of time to pen encouragement, to pen motivation, to pen ideas and suggestions in rhyme, in rhythm, for them to understand what it is and why we should be sacrificing. And I went above and beyond and addressing those very, very, very in your face kind of way that is not doing what they're supposed to, and their selfishness, because it has to be addressed in order to stop the craziness. I mean, seriously, I don't care about your theories. I don't care about your conspiracy theories. Take it somewhere else where no one else is going to get hurt. Just don't take it to the innocent and the vulnerable.
My daughter had shared with me, she had posted something along the lines of, and it was somebody else's post. But so she reposted, it said something along the lines of, like, to those of you that are out there traveling and these pictures and like you're not, like, this is not okay. Like, you're not flexing. You're not showing us anything. What you're showing us is that you're selfish. And what you're showing, and I think it ended with, and if you know anybody that's been sick or has died, like double down on you for doing that. And somebody responded to her, I think may have felt that she was talking about them. And they said, I'm not going to stop living my best life.
Or someone else may just stop it for you.
I just, I'm struggling with the response to that, because it seems so selfish and that it's so against what I think we try to build, which is community.
Right.
And that idea of us caring for each other, that you matter and I matter, and like, you are a reflection of me. And if I care about myself, I care about you. If I care about you, I'm caring about myself and my family. And that is not what, when you're out and really doing these things, not making the sacrifice, it's hard. It's really hard. We have not seen our granddaughter in 3 weeks, and not spending Christmas with her, not seeing my mom, my aunt, who I'm so fortunate, my dad, who I'm so fortunate are still alive, and not being able to spend the holidays with them.
Yeah.
Zoom has been beautiful. Zoom is a gift. Yeah. But it's been really hard, and I'm struggling with my response, because I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to push my beliefs or my thoughts, but this is about people's health. This is about our lives.
And a deadly virus.
Yeah.
I was this morning, I was up early, first day of school, and I was thinking of all the planned travel for 2020. The first one was we were going to meet in Chicago, remember?
Yeah.
And then that was the first one that was canceled based on
Yes.
the UNIDOS meeting we should have had in Chicago. And then in September I was supposed to go to South Africa for my sister's 50th birthday, which I didn't make. And then also July graduation of my students in LA, December in New Orleans and everything. And I made a list and I said, okay, like makeup test. This is my makeup travel that I need to do before I start 2021 travel when all this is over.
Yeah, it's all of that, right? I think that the travel industry is going to see a tremendous boom. All the Airbnbs, like there's going to be a big boom of things. But I know because I know that my family, my husband, I know that we have missed, and my daughter. So in the house, it's me, Daniel, and Sophia, who's 15.
Yeah.
And I know that they're we've talked about, we're still going to wait a little while before we.
Right. You got a grace period.
A little buffer, but we try to go every year to Austin to visit Daniel's family. His mom and dad are still with us, and he has a lot of brothers and sisters, and our god babies, our nieces and nephews, and so it's thank goodness for Zoom. Thank goodness for Zoom.
Right.
It has been difficult. I wanted to talk about, so you and I started this restorative circle for school leaders. And really, so the idea of just having a space for people who are running schools, because, at the National Parents Union, we talk a lot about the impact of what's been happening with families and kids, and the fact that school is now in our home. And there's a lot of trauma that is happening. There's a lot of loss, like you've talked about. There's a lot of grieving. And there's a different component of what's happened for school leaders. So can you share with us, both from your perspective and then how this restorative circle for school leaders came about?
Yeah. So oh wow, I am part of a Facebook group for school leaders actually throughout the world, and I posted something on the group, and just the comments started piling in, and it was without a doubt showing how many of my colleagues and school leaders around the world were actually going through so much. And we are protecting our school community. We are protecting our staff. We are protecting our students. We are protecting the parents, everyone else. And there's no one really checking in on us. As I was reading, of course, you were the first person that came to mind. That's when I reached out and said, Marisol, look at this. I think we need, our school leaders need someone to listen to and a safe space to talk. And that is so. I know that I have in my my world, I create all these safe spaces for the kids, for the teachers, and everything else. And I'm strong in front of everyone, but when I close the computer, it's me and my thoughts, and very, very often I have absolutely no safe space or no one to talk to. I do have some caring teachers that would check in on me, and that would even when I send out or have a restorative circle every Friday, whatever, and they would go, but how are you? But that it was necessary because we do have a lot that we carry, and needing that safe space was it was really, really, really helpful in just being able to talk and having people to listen.
Yeah, I think the job of being a school leader was actually my favorite job. I really am enjoying my current job. It might be a competition, um,
Mhm.
but what I it was also really difficult. And part of what you talked about because of the weight of responsibility that you carry, and you're in a position where you're supporting and you're leading, a community and a school system, and you're also having to juggle and potentially based on the leadership above you having to juggle their stuff and protect your staff from the stuff coming from above you.
Right.
And so if you're in a really good, like with any organization, right, if you have a really good system that's supporting the leaders
Right.
in the organization, then you have support. But if you don't, like that position of a school principal is extremely overwhelming. And for the reasons that you said, you're creating safe spaces, and you're protecting kids, you're protecting staff, you're protecting families, and staff includes teachers, and then all of your what's called classified staff. So all those people that don't have their credentials, and in this time that's so difficult, and then when you add on that, right, that a lot of school leaders have families.
Yeah, true.
A lot of school they're also managing their children and school in their home with their and two spouses working, so that need in that space, I keep reading on Twitter all these people that are leaving education.
I saw. And that is why actually, Marisol, this morning, I wrote my welcome note to our staff, and my message and my email was very short. My message was very concise. I recently came across a saying, "Don't let your storms get the children wet."
Mhm.
And we have so many storms in the school system, like you said, the people above the school leader, the district, the but everything else, the teacher in the class, and so many times it becomes about us, and that we forget about the kids. And I pointed out that those dark clouds that we carry, creating the storms, should never affect the kids. And the message to the staff was to ensure that we keep the kids out of the storm, we keep the kids dry. I reminded them that in the hierarchy of needs, Maslow is greater than Bloom. So it's more important to ensure the social emotional health of our students. I reminded them that a transformative education beats a oppressive education,
Mhm.
and to be aware of the expectations, and of what they say, what they do, and how they do it, and how it affects our kids. I reminded them that quantity is not as important as quality.
Mhm.
So let's make sure we are in a pandemic, no matter which way we look at it, because my main message was to make sure that we do not carry our struggles over to the kids, and also to make sure that no one thinks that 2021 is a magic number and the beginning of start of year things will just go away. The pandemic cannot read a calendar and is
Mhm.
not aware that it's January 4th, and
Mhm.
so there will be no magical
Mhm.
disappearance of any of the
Mhm.
struggles that were there when we left for winter break. It was important for me to remind them of that, and also to remind them of self-care.
Yeah.
Because if they don't care for themselves, they are going there's the storms that they're going to bring into the virtual world of our kids, will just get them wet.
There's a couple things that I want to say. Number one, how fortunate that your staff is that they have you, because um we all need inspiration, and we also, like in your message, the guidance and the support. And in any organization, including schools, we need that kind of leadership. We need somebody that's giving us those really positive messages and is acknowledging our humanity while keeping us focused on the work, which is protecting our kids and ensuring the best for our kids. And also, permission to be human.
Right.
That idea of, quality over quantity. Like, let's be human and let's do what we know is, because we know that's right.
Right.
We know it's the right thing, but there's these messages that we get about, there's about about accountability and about
Finish the curriculum and kids are gonna get behind. Let them get behind and we'll make it up on the other side. But let's look at their social emotional well-being right now. It's a pandemic. We are not in the building. Things are not the same. There's nothing. I can work a heck of a lot when we get back and making up a year, 2 years and plan it out and making up the reading level. And who determined what a reading level and what and where does that come from? The Western world?
Yeah.
Let's make sure we don't get broken kids on the other side.
Yeah.
Broken because I'm in the middle school. And the biggest thing for kids in middle school is socialization.
Mm-hmm.
And they're missing out, and to break them and then have to try to make up on the other side a broken child. Let's see how we can balance what it is we're doing without giving up the standards that we used to, etc. So many people, especially if we speak privilege, would think that when I speak about non-oppressive education, I'm speaking about lower standards and everything. And it's all so wrong. It's the exact same standards, just with understanding, with empathy, with understanding that there is no internet today. The kid is hungry. How can I adapt? How can I adjust? What level of flexibility should I have? It's not pass one, pass all.
Well, and I think that part about like what you're talking about, that cultural responsiveness, it's really about us acknowledging and seeing people for exactly who they are, like and acknowledging, accepting, elevating, and like you said, like creating that safe space, but like allow it, like us seeing them for all the beauty, for all of and that is the oppression is that this colonized system has not
Right.
allowed that. That's where the oppression comes in.
Right.
It hasn't allowed for that. And so I 100% agree with you that we, like, number one needs to be our kids' safety. It needs to be their safety, and that includes their physical, their social, their emotional, their mental health.
Right.
And the learning components are critical. There's those critical time periods that's worrisome, right? I mean, it is. There's
Right.
periods of learning. My two of my grandbabies they're pandemic babies. So my second granddaughter arrived on March 18th of 2020.
I remember.
She came in that very first week
of the pandemic
on lockdown. Her little brother is due February 18th. So we have two, and this baby, she knows her mom, she knows her dad, she knows her sister, but the socialization and so my daughter has to really, really, and her dad need to really be on the learning, because she's not in the world the way that kids have been in. So being around people is going to be a big shift. There is a thing that we would talk about in our culture, and all my kids, my kids could fall asleep at any party. Like you go to parties and you're like, oh, like, where's the kids? You put two chairs together and someone's asleep there. And that's something that you want. You want your kids to be able to know to rest, but that they are okay with noise. And that's part of, part of the family culture, part of the cultura. And some of they're not going to have that. Like, there's going to be a really big adjustment. Right. But even that, I think us understanding that, I think parents understanding that, and like doing the things that we can. Um, but really, I think on the school level, really focusing on, like you said, like not breaking kids.
Right.
But you know what, St. Clair? I think that some schools are breaking kids. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie to you.
But they were breaking them even before pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's within some very oppressive paradigms and old school stuff in some schools that you'd never see in a suburban school, with the rules and regulations, etc. I mean, Marisol, during this pandemic, I met virtually with a lot of parents, but there was one family that I felt that I had to bring into the school, and which I did. We sat at the cafeteria table on two different ends, but I just needed, I had to meet with the parents. Only because of my concern for the kid, only to find out some of the issues related to one parent being taken away by immigration, and some other
So I think that story is really important because I think it also helps to just give some context of your understanding of trauma. And so what you're talking about, you were at the school in LA, the father was taken forcefully with they were on the way to school, right?
Yeah, they were taken in front of my school.
And immigration came and took him, the Gestapo came and took him forcefully away from his family, and you had his children in your school. And so can you just talk a little bit about that trauma that the girls experienced and what you did in the school to respond and support them?
Yeah, so that was traumatic, and that experience was actually what gave rise to my just being sensitized to it, and I could help a kid in my school over here. But on that day, with Fatima, after being dropped off with her father Romulo, Avelica was taken by ICE as he was dropping off at school, and she had a good sense of recording it. And that was, I guess, the first case that actually went international in the country then. And Fatima was an 8th grader then. She's a senior now. And I have to go to graduation. And I fortunately had a chance to record. But once you walk in the school, I see the sobbing 13-year-old. And after finding out what happened, I just relived so much of what I went through in South Africa during apartheid as a child. The fear, the never knowing what's about to happen, what can happen, and everything else. I automatically just went back to my days as an activist, and after making initial phone calls to my ED at the time, Ricardo Mireles, and everything else. By that afternoon, we had the community mobilized, and we had clergy from our imams from the Muslim community, our rabbis from the Jewish community, our pastors and reverends from the community, all together in our school hall, figuring out what was going to happen. By that evening, we were down at the ICE Center downtown LA, ready to stop the van taking Romulo to back to Mexico. And the fight started, and it escalated. It became huge. I had about 20 different countries' television that came to my school and all that, and we fought hand, tooth, and nail, and we managed to get Romulo released from prison. Fortunately, we had that family that was broken that's together right now. And so
how did the school, though, and what did you do to support the kids and the families? Because you talked about like these systems that are breaking kids, and for all intent, like that's what that trauma,
right? So the school, it's important to empower. And so basically we had our restorative circles every morning with the students in their advisories. Actually, the restorative circles at school started post-election. That morning, 2016, after the very sad news came, I woke up and I was like, how do I look our kids in the face today?
Yeah.
I've heard their feelings. I heard them share with each other what's going to happen if Trump gets elected. And as I was planning that day, I planned out the restorative circles. I said the email, I said the norms, all teachers, this is what we're going to do. And they took off that day and continued throughout. Afternoon, I also had a circle with the staff because we went through stuff as well. And it was important to have a platform for staff to be heard, to have voice. Also because we had a lot of staff that was on DACA, and we knew what that meant. So the importance of providing safe space, the importance of providing voice, and the importance of functioning under a restorative paradigm where everyone on an equal footing is able to express themselves, their worries, their concerns, and just encourage each other is what got us through all that, and what is getting us as a staff through this pandemic right now, just through listening circles, through compassionate circles, through restorative circles. And as I said, it's helpful. And I said that what happened over there was sensitized me, and this is when I brought this family in. And I want to tell the story, Marisol, because it ended with, after hearing and knowing that the kid is just not absent for no reason, there's all this whatever. But while I was meeting with the parents, I asked the office to get 2 pizzas, etc., so that we can give it to the family when they go home. When we handed it to the mother, when our counselor handed it to the mother cried and said that they haven't had a hot meal in 3 days.
Oh.
And I don't know what they ate, but now the teacher's expecting that hungry kid to be sitting there listening on a computer when they haven't eaten in 3 days.
What made you know that you needed to order that food?
I used to laugh a lot at my mom because she'd have the saying that she was born with that gift, and she'd always say,
of knowing when someone was hungry.
Yes, she would, as a young man, would empty the cupboard and take this and says, "Can you take this to your aunt's house, her sister's house?" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "I have a feeling they have nothing to eat." And I now that I've grown and getting old, I realize that I may have that same sense or sixth sense about things, the same way I had the sense of that's the only family that I brought into the school to meet with. Everyone else I've met virtually. But I said to the parent coordinator, I want to see them face to face. It's because I had that sense that I need to figure out, because post that I was able to, one of my South African friends sending me some money to take the family so they can buy food. I was able to get a little bit of legal help and everything else, that by falling back on Ricardo in LA and the people that helped us during that time. So there is so much going on, and then the kids are exposed to all of what's going on. They're usually not at home to see some struggles of getting food on the table or whatever. Now they're at home and they see and they hear everything. So the challenge is real, and so the level of understanding as we keep at a high, with high expectations and high standard of education, just the level of understanding and basic second chances.
What are some of the ways that you're ready to respond once you get kids back? To really address any of the brokenness that may have occurred?
Oh, first week is it's going to be very little teaching. It is going to be socialization. It is going to be circles. It is going to be go to your favorite teacher for today. Whatever it is that is going to get their mental health stabilized again. Whatever is going to be to make their socialization going up again. It's no computer, no computers. It's gonna be lean on technology for that first week, because it's going to be like summer camp. That is the feeling that needs to be created. The fun activities,
community circles, playing
games, playing, walking around the neighborhood. It is like, that's what I say. Like, it's gotta be like that summer camp feeling, in terms of getting it all back. Because I can tell you, if you're gonna think you're gonna bring kids in the first week of school after being at home for 10, 11 months and think that everything's gonna be fine.
Assess their reading and
Okay, first day we're gonna do Fontes and Penel. Oh no.
Which is important. I really believe that assessment needs to happen. We need to know how kids are coming in.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do the diagnostic. We're gonna figure out how far behind, and then we're going to make our I don't call it reteaching. I call it corrective instruction, and we're gonna have a lot of corrective instruction to do once we get our kids back in the building. Hey, we teachers, we superheroes. We know we've been doing it for years. I've been doing it when Hurricane Isaac was there. I've been doing it post Hurricane Katrina. We've made up that work, and our kids are excelling in the colleges in New Orleans that were there because we have those capabilities.
We need to get, so what you offer, St. Clair, like really, we need to get as many school leaders as possible exposed to you and the experience that you've had, because you've had experience in, it's very like this very specific experience in dealing with trauma and rebuilding community and restoring community. And that, post Hurricane Katrina, post Hurricane Isaac, like all of those things, you're growing up in South Africa, like that.
Not going to school for weeks because of protests, not going to school for weeks because of state of emergency, or trying to go to school and being beaten, tear gas, rubber bulleted, and everything else. And hey, look at me.
Yeah.
We made up all that work. I got through that trauma. It just takes dedicated people that is working with a purpose. So when I get frustrated, like when I speak like I'm speaking right now, and people think that I'm saying inferior education, people think I'm saying pass everybody, and I'm thinking of I'm a product of inferior education because it was a law of the land. I'm a product of being prepared for manual labor, and I rose above that. And I educated myself because that was my weapon against oppression. That was my weapon against apartheid. Why would I expose any kid to that? It is my world and my mission to protect kids from all the evil that I went through as a person of color growing up during apartheid, and to give them the best. That's why I never stopped learning. That's why I have 8 qualifications behind me.
Yeah, you just finished a master's degree in restorative practice.
I just finished a master's degree, which was my 8th degree. I'm still not going to stop. Someone asked me, I said I want 10.
That's your there's a saying for that. There's a saying for that. Like that's how you fight, is by educating yourself. That is
it. That is my weapon.
That's your revolution.
That is my revolution. That's my weapon. And with that, Ubuntu community, I live my life according to it. And I make sure that I create that safe space and that community for everyone that comes into my life and around me.
St. Clair, we need more of you. I think that we need to figure out a way of just of getting more of what you have to say shared, because our entire nation, the world needs you, but our nation needs you, our kids need you. And I'm so grateful that you were able to come on with me today. You had originally scheduled for the 28th and then I was told we were on vacation. So I'm just so glad that we came on. One of the things, it's already been an hour, so our time's almost up. One of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be, to really be conscious of the things that I'm proud of. And so I'm hoping that together we can each share 5 things that we're proud of. And if we could try to make them kind of recent things. So I'll let you start.
In actual fact, that's not going to be too hard because I did that exercise with someone recently, with the group recently. No, I posted up my 5 things on Facebook for New Year that I loved about 2020. So one of it was making it through this whole thing, COVID, and being able to start a new year positive and sane. The second was getting my master's during 22 magna cum laude. Third thing was being recognized by my university as an alma mater, as Achiever of the Year award. 2 students out of a alma mater base of 144,000. So that was pretty awesome. Fourth thing is my ability through everything to have led a staff through it all, to empower and become better in what we deliver for students and families daily. And the fifth thing is it's something that I say cheek in tongue because it's an acknowledgement, but I don't want it to sound as coming off as bragging, whatever. It's something that the fact that I'm this boy from the hood that has been able to rise to where I am and is still able, and is now with the little that I have able to give back financially and give back through the poetry and whatever to the community back home. Staying humble and connected to my roots.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And it's so you. I'm going to start on a shared one. I'm really proud of us for starting that school leader circle.
Yay!
I think because the space is important, and it's been the thing that's so beautiful about any time that you get into circles is that it's so much medicine for us that are guiding, and so I'm proud of us for being responsive and doing that. Number 2, I have been very successful with my spider plants. And so I had tried to have plants years ago. And so, I'm really happy. Like I have all my little plants. And it just makes me happy to be able to know that I can grow something outside of, children. And so my number 3 is I'm also really proud of myself. So one of the things that Daniel and I are focusing on is that we're focusing on eliminating our debt. And we have, I think we've paid off 3 or 4. And so I'm super excited about that. And still with that, still being able to learn. So like, that was 3. So the paying off the debt, but I think number 4 is just changing my relationship with money, which like having a little bit extra. So my 5 is I was able to bring more plants into our home today. So I'm excited about learning about them and bringing them in and just creating more life and fresh air in our home. So those are my 5. So St. Clair, we'll do circle tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we need to get the invite and everything set up. But so it's for school leaders, but we're open to educators. If anybody, wants to come in and have a conversation with us, it's just a really beautiful time. And St. Clair, I want to just thank you again for who you are in this world. And it is such a beautiful honor knowing you and being able to have this conversation with you. And again, we need to figure out a way to get your experience and who you are to amplify that, because there are a lot of school leaders, a lot of schools that need what you have. So we got to figure that out, my friend. Okay.
And thank you so much. You know, I love you, and I just love the energy, and you inspire me.
I love you, my friend. So, and we'll have you come back on the show, definitely. So, everybody, I will see you on Wednesday. We will be on at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And also, please make sure that you register for the town hall. Go to nationalparentsunion.org. St. Clair, register for the town hall. We have the Dolores Huerta. I'm going to check.
What day? Thursday?
Thursday at 5. I believe it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
Same time.
All
yeah.
right.
Everybody, have a beautiful night. Thank you for being with us. Know that you are loved and cared for. Good night.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.